I'm interested in how you make pricing decisions, and allow me to throw this one to you, which may be slightly out of left field. I'm not sure whether you guys consider Tim Tams to be an essential or a luxury good or whatever it might be. Personally, they're an essential from my shopping perspective. But there was some recent reporting in the UK that said that the price of Tim Tams in the UK is actually cheaper than they are here. So a 200-gram pack of Tim Tams in London is at full price, is at $6. It's in your stores, both of your stores, at $6 currently. But if I want to buy that same packet of Tim Tams at Tesco in London, it would cost me £2.50, which is about $4.86. Why is that? Mr. Harker, we might start with you.
It's probably a great question for Arnott's Senator, who obviously I don't know what arrangements they do or don't have with selling that product into the UK market and what margins they're expecting to make from that product in that market if they're trying to get into a new market. What I can say is that we obviously have a cost of goods arrangements with Arnott's, and we adopt their recommended retail price, and then the team will negotiate with them to build a promotional program around that in broad terms. So why Arnott's or why retailers in the UK are able to offer those prices would probably depend to the margins that Arnott's is expecting to make in terms of selling into those markets versus how they choose to bring their products to market here in Australia. But it's a great question.
Mr. Fitzgibbons, can you give me an indication of why the price of Tim Tams would be cheaper in the UK, 17,000 kilometres away, than it is in Australia?
I think the question almost presupposes that Arnott's sell their product to us at the same price that they would sell those products to other retailers internationally. That's not something that I or Coles would have visibility of at all, but I think that's certainly a question that would be very best directed toward Arnott's, who would actually have that information. We don't have visibility over, as we said, their commercials and what they sell that to Tesco's or their promotional arrangements with them, but those are the types of factors that would impact that retail price.
I know that Coles has a special on Tim Tams at the moment. Obviously, I sound obsessive here, but they have a special on Tim Tams that takes them down to $4.50. Obviously, that's a temporary price drop. Does that imply that you are selling Tim Tams as a loss leader when they're on sale when the discount is that large?
The way that those, and I just have to be careful here, Senator, given the substance of the ACCC litigation when talking about how some of these promotions are funded. But usually what will happen in that instance is there will be a retail price, a recommended retail price by the supplier, and then for those to go on a promotional price, there is a negotiation between the supplier and Coles, and there will be an agreement as to the level of funding or investment, as we refer to it, in that promotion. So the discount that you see from the recommended retail price to the promotional price, in certain instances, will be shared between the retailer and the supplier.
It does sound passing strange, doesn't it, that a product that is manufactured in Western Sydney would cost more at a supermarket in Sydney than it would at a supermarket in London, after it's travelled 17,000 kilometres and gone through all the rigmarole there. Is that something that you consider? Do you look at relative prices around the world when you create your own pricing frameworks within Australia? Do you say, well, Waitroses, for instance, has Tim Tams at the moment for £2, and that's about $3.85. If we charge more than $3.85, that means that our local product here is more expensive than it would be in a different country. Does that part of your considerations? I might start with you, Mr. Fitzgibbons, there.
Sure. I think that, again, when we engage with our suppliers, there is a particular price they will sell their products to us for, and we will negotiate that price as best as we can. But in terms of Arnott's strategy in entering a foreign market, I really can't speak to what their strategy or what their pricing is to enable that to happen in a foreign market.
Okay. Mr Harker, do international comparisons of retail prices figure in your decision-making around the pricing structure at Woolworths?
I would say broadly in the sense that you're describing, no, because the market constructs are different. So it sounds like that Arnott's have entered into an arrangement with somebody overseas on a particular price that means that they could sell that product at that price on a relatively consistent basis. In this market here, the strategy that I would say Arnott's have chosen to adopt is a high-low strategy. That is to say, they charge us a cost price and they recommend a retail price, and then they would provide promotional funding effectively to promote their products in an agreed arrangement that we would have, and we would go into negotiate it. Our preference is always to try and put as much as we can into the standard cost to try and offer more consistent pricing on a day-to-day basis, but it is actually the supplier's call to actually determine how much they would like to put into a standard cost and how much they would like to hold back and use as promotional funding, and that would be something that we would work with and we would negotiate with them on in good faith. We obviously have no rights to insist or demand on seeing any information or insisting on what's happened in other markets in terms of how we operate here. We are governed by the Grocery Code, and we will negotiate in good faith under the terms that the Grocery Code dictates.
Right. So can I just be very clear then? You're assuming that Arnott's are selling their product to Waitroses or Tesco's at a lower unit price than they are to Coles and Woolworths, and for that reason, the retail price that you can offer must be higher than it is in a different country, in the UK. Is that right?
I don't want to assume anything on Arnott's behalf. All I can say is in this market, we have negotiated the best standard cost that we can every day with Arnott's, and they have adopted a recommended retail price that we have taken, and we then put all our efforts into negotiating promotions on those products for consumers, working with Arnott's to unlock from their promotional funding to lower the price in this market. How they choose to go to market in other countries would be a question best asked to Arnott's about why they might adopt one model in the UK and why they might adopt a different model here in Australia.
All right. Obviously, you understand it's very difficult for us to pull every single supplier into the room and ask them these questions. And they, of course, would then tell us that the margin on which the supermarkets place on those products is entirely up to them, and we should ask them about that. So it does seem that we go a little bit back and forth. We have had Mondelez and Nestlé in the room, and that was the answer that they gave us, is that we need to ask you about margins on particular products as opposed to them. I will leave it at that, though, because I'm conscious of time. We have you for another half